Mr. Long, yes or no, should the IRS commissioner have access to the integrated data retrieval system and my constituents' private taxpayer data?
I think that we have to protect taxpayer data at all costs, so whatever that looks like, whatever that takes.
Should that person that released the data go to prison like the person that released Donald Trump's tax returns went to prison for 5 years?
I'm not familiar with the specific situation, so if I'm going to follow the law wherever the law takes it, so if it's illegal, it's illegal. If it's not, it's not.
Are you aware that someone went to prison for releasing Donald Trump's tax returns and a few other people for 5 years?
Is this the Little John that released everybody's?
Mr. Grassley's the one that asked the question.
Huh?
Chuck Grassley's the one that asked the question.
No, I'm asking.
There was agreement when Chuck asked it.
Isn't his name Little John? Is this the same instance you're talking about or not?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Liberty Watchtower, where truth takes center stage. Here, we keep you informed, engaged, and thinking critically in a world that often demands it. If you're new to the channel, like this video, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to never miss a dose of real, unfiltered truth. Let's dive in. In a recent Senate hearing, Senator Ben Ray Luján questioned Mr. Billy Long, a former congressman and nominee for a federal position involving the IRS on key issues of taxpayer privacy, government accountability, and tax filing access.
Senator Luján.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Long, several of my questions are yes or no's, and so just trying to help my colleagues are going to go after me be able to get their time as well, so appreciate your support there. Over 850 of my constituents have written in concerned that their private data is at risk after the Department of Government Efficiency sought access to sensitive IRS data systems. I'm also concerned that the state of New Mexico's bank records also could be inadvertently disclosed were DOGE to gain access to those systems. Mr. Long, yes or no, should the IRS commissioner have access to the integrated data retrieval system and my constituents' private taxpayer data?
I think that we have to protect taxpayer data at all costs, so whatever that looks like, whatever that takes.
Well, historically, political officials, including the IRS commissioner, do not have access to this data. The law was changed after Watergate. I don't have to get into that anymore. Yes or no, do you believe the Department of Government Efficiency should have access to the integrated data retrieval system and my constituents' private taxpayer data?
I don't think that anyone's taxpayer data should be released to anyone that it doesn't need it for legitimate purposes.
I appreciate
of
that.
The IRS.
Yes or no, have you met with Ryan Wonderly, the DOGE employee that has been granted access to Treasury Department data systems?
Never heard the name, no, sir.
I appreciate that. If people, well, let me ask the question this way, Mr. Long. When DOGE releases the personal tax information of any person, should that person go to prison the same way that the person that released Donald Trump's tax returns went to prison for 5 years?
Say that again. I'm having a little trouble hearing.
When DOGE releases the personal tax information of any person, should that person that released the data go to prison like the person that released Donald Trump's tax returns went to prison for 5 years?
I'm not familiar with the specific situation, so if I'm going to follow the law wherever the law takes it, so if it's illegal, it's illegal. If it's not, it's not.
Are you aware that someone went to prison for releasing Donald Trump's tax returns and a few other people for 5 years?
Is this the Little John that released everybody's?
Mr. Grassley's the one that asked the question.
Huh?
Chuck Grassley's the one that asked the question.
No, I'm asking.
There was agreement when Chuck asked it.
Isn't his name Little John? Is this the same instance you're talking about or not? That released everybody's and went to prison for 5 years, is that?
Yeah, the person that went to prison for 5 years for that and for releasing Donald Trump's tax returns. Are you
Same person?
Are you aware they went to prison for 5 years, Billy?
I'm aware that someone was sentenced to 5 years. I thought it was for a massive.
Sure, yeah.
I thought it was
for releasing tax information. So my question is, when DOGE releases tax information to my constituents or any constituents in America, should that person go to prison?
If it's illegal.
Well, it's illegal. Someone went to prison for doing it for Donald Trump. Should they do it for a constituent down the road that works on a dairy
It's
in
either
my
lawful or
town?
it's not. It's either legal or
All right,
illegal.
well, we'll move on. I hope that that's something, I'll submit it in writing so you can check with the lawyers, and I'll get an answer that
Yeah,
way,
you bet.
sir.
I'll get it for you.
By the way, is the person that's going to be your chief counsel in the room today?
I'm sorry?
Is the person that's going to be your chief lawyer, your head lawyer, your top lawyer as IRS commissioner, are they in the room today?
I don't know who's going to be the,
You said someone might be earlier when someone else asked a
What?
question. You don't know who it might be?
I don't,
All right, I'll get to that later.
I don't see them. I don't think they're here, but
One of my colleagues asked a question about being able to file taxes for free directly. Yes or no, do you support the ability of Americans to file their taxes directly for free through the Direct File Program?
that is something we discussed at length earlier, and there's a lot of, that's one of the first things I want to look at, as I said earlier, is, bring the evidence in and let us jury it and see. There's people on both sides of that. As you know, it's one of the hottest topics in the IRS.
Let me ask the question this way. Should Americans be able to file their taxes directly for free?
They should be able to get their audits done and know where their audit is. So as far as filing, I don't, a lot of people, I think, file for free now, don't they?
Should people be able to file for free?
If they could, sure. I mean, why would, if they have to pay if they're capable of doing their own taxes, why would they have to?
Representative, I have
Pay
other
somebody to
questions.
do them.
I'll ask these a little bit later, sir. Billy, you and I come from small towns. We're simple folks. You're an auctioneer. I grew up on a small farm. People like it straight, man. People want to hear the truth. They just want to hear it straight. That's the relationship you and I have. When I was in the House with you, we didn't vote the same a lot.
Luján raised concerns from over 850 constituents about potential unauthorized access to IRS systems by the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. He pressed Long on whether those who illegally leak tax data, regardless of political status, should face equal legal consequences, referencing the recent 5-year prison sentence of an individual who leaked Donald Trump's tax returns. Luján also questioned Long's stance on allowing Americans to file taxes for free through a government system. Drawing on their shared background and past work in Congress, Luján urged Long to give honest, direct answers to ensure public trust in the IRS.
But we worked on bills together, didn't we?
worked on bills
Yeah, we
together.
worked on bills together.
We always had honest conversations. You always kept your word. That's all that I'm trying to get to the bottom of.
I'm same guy I was then, and
That's all that I'm trying to get to the bottom of here, Representative Long. That's it. Is when we're talking about the IRS, like my colleagues kept asking questions about, are you going to make sure someone at the IRS can pick up a phone? Well, Elon Musk and DOGE say that there's going to be a 40% reduction in force. The reason no one's over there answering phones is because of Elon Musk, and President Trump let it happen. Even one of my Republican colleagues said things were better 6 months ago. Well, I don't know who the president was 6 months ago, but it wasn't Donald Trump. All I'm saying is, let's be honest with folks back at home, especially the folks that live on those small towns down a dirt road that you and I both know, sir. That's all that I'm asking. I appreciate the time, Mr. Chairman.
we've always had a good relationship, and I appreciate it.